Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Vevna Forrow, yeah. So previously on the podcast, I was showing you around 14 poems. And you can see here we are now on 32 poems, right? So I think that's really interesting again, how some literary magazines and journals focus on a very specific set amount of poems for each issue. And a lot of places do that, they just perhaps don't have it, in their name itself and as the focal point, right, of it. And like the amount in the name itself. There are places I've seen that, publish 20 poems an issue or, just 30 poems. I don't know if there's like a lit mag or journal out there, a series that is 100 poems, maybe anthologies or some books, right? But 50 poems, I don't know if that exists or anything. In any case, I mentioned this on the past podcast episode with Dipty Lit Mag, right? We had, started with 19 poems, per issue, and then I changed that, and then 11 poems, but that was for our subsection. Then we had bonus poems, right? And those weren't necessarily capped. We just tried to share as much as possible in the bonus sections. But I think going forwards, we're going to totally, cap it off for each section, have a set number for every single issue going forwards, to be very consistent and rigid on that, because I think it's important to have that again, consistency, as I mentioned just now. So, yeah, anyways, let's check out 32 poems. So they're closed right now, but yeah. And I've been using the little bookmark here to keep track of ones I've been covering too as well. So that's been helpful. But yeah, so a little bit about 32 poems. We'll actually go out, we'll come back to the Chill Subs page. Let's go out to their website actually here. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about their site design in a bit, but let's go to their about section and history. Yeah. So I'm just going to quote this and read it off for you guys because I think it's interesting, learning more about lit mags and how they started. Not every single place, sort of goes into the history behind it, right? Or, when it began and everything, right? So I like reading about, the development of it and when it started and all of that. So here we go. Printed twice a year in January and July and distributed internationally with subscribers in over 20 countries, each issue includes 32 shorter poems. The minimalist focus has fostered an intimate and intensive reading experience since 2002, when Deborah Ager and John Pock founded the journal as an alternative to larger and less selective literary magazines. In the 20 years since 32 Poems has showcased many of the most recognized poets writing in English, including Pulitzer Prize, National Book Award, and MacArthur Genius Grant winners, poets laureate, and recipients of the other major honors in American letters. The journal also prides itself on championing talented writers early in their careers and regularly features poets appearing in print for the first time. Our emerging poets have gone on to earn such honors as Discovery, the Nation Prizes, the National Poetry Series, Ruth Lilly Fellowships, Stegner Fellowships, and many other first book prizes, fellowships, and awards. Work first appearing in 30 poems can be found frequently reprinted in both the Best American Poetry and Best New Poet series, on such best of sites as Verse Daily and Poetry Daily, and in a wide variety of anthologies. Selections from 32 poems have been made into short films and recited by high school students in National Poetry Out Loud contests. And in 2012, Word Farm published Old Flame, a collection drawn from 32 Poems' first 10 years of publication. A finalist for the Forward Book of the Year award, Old Flame pairs 64 of the journal's best lyrics with brief prose commentaries from the poets themselves. Since 2011, George David Clark has edited the journal, now based in Washington, Pennsylvania. In 2013, 32 Poems expanded to begin publishing regular prose features online. These reviews, essays, and interviews have themselves been reprinted in collections of essays and criticism and in such series as the Poetry Daily Prose feature. The journal also partners with teachers of creative writing through a program called 32 Classrooms, in which editors introduce students to the craft contributions to 32 Poems prose features. Okay, so Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that, some of their work, had been made, that they published selections were into short films, and that's really cool. And I didn't know about the Old Flame collection either. That's the first time I'm, reading about it. I've submitted to 32 poems in the past myself. I didn't make the cut, obviously, but um, I think what I liked, I could tell they totally read one of the pieces I'd submitted back then, because it had like an additional note in it, where they could see I was writing a very honest. It was sort of, I could tell they could. It was a note indicating it was a very vulnerable and honest poem that I had submitted to them, and yeah, so you got to keep trying, right? But the thing about 32 poems, and I love this constellation, by the way. Let's go back to chill subs here. So it says here poetry for the ear, the eye, and the ego. They say top tier stuff, not Paris review, but okay is the vibe. And yeah. So the thing about, 32 poems, it's they are only choosing 32 poems for the issues. They do totally have, reviews and interviews and some other things in their issues. But it's tight, right? Look at this. The acceptance rate, the tracker stats is showing 0.66%, guys. 0.66%. And again, 90 days after submission response time, 31 days has been the average reported through Chill Subs tracker. And yeah, so it's tough, But I think it's amazing, 32 Poems has been around since it looks like 2002. So think about it, slightly over, 20 years here, 2 decades, so slightly over 2 decades. That's amazing. The thing about, I mentioned this, right? 32 poems. So, they have a fee. They have a submission fee, right? It's $3. Now, $3, it's a couple of bucks. I think places that have, very high fees, right? That's usually quite alarming, right? And I'd say $3 is in the lower range, and that's not too bad, honestly. But again, there are fee-free places, right? There are some places that have um really relied on donations and have gone fee-free or funding and stuff, but that's not always possible, right? So I understand where some editors are coming from in terms of fees and stuff. Like we had implemented at Dippy Lit Mag, for some time, first time is free and second time or more is fees, and then we changed that, restructured it. And I mentioned this earlier on the podcast. I got feedback from others, was considering other things in the community and stuff, and I was like, I think we can totally pull it off, and be free, if we leverage other, look for alternative sources of covering things, right, through other things we do, right, other publication series and donations. And yeah, and of course, sometimes founding editors, right, they still cover things from time to time, for tough years. They do the best they can, but a lot of lit magazine journals, again, like 30 poems, even with this fee, they depend on upon donation subscriptions, yeah. So I think that's, again, really, it's amazing, how long 32 poems has been around. You can see they they have poetry right here. It says fee $3, and they pay $25 per piece, right? And it says print. So they're not open right now, but you can see it looks like they're saying, again, February 1st, 2026, and accept simultaneous submissions. They nominate again for Best American Pushcart. And it was mentioned, in what I read in this history section, right? Some other things too, right? So yeah, and they have examples online, and I'll show that soon. And they do provide contributor copies, it looks like, and that's great. So they're processing things through Submittable again. And yeah, the thing about the $3 submission fee, though, it says here the fee is waived for subscribers. So I think that's nice. So I mentioned that some places do that, right? If you're a subscriber to their print series, right, that takes place of, like, not having to pay fees, right, for submissions. You can, as a subscriber, submit without that fee, right? Existing subscribers have windows, and I think that's nice. Um, so yeah. Yeah, you can see they have their masthead listed out here. That's great. So everyone's name is apparent and everything. And yeah, so there are examples here. If you go out and read the magazine, they have a couple there. And yeah, so let's head back over to their website here and go to the homepage. Yeah. So this is 32 Poems homepage, and I think that's really nice, this layout, right? So they have a featured poem, I think from a an issue, one of the issues, right? And then they have some features, popping up here as well. And yeah, so I think they rotate these out, and that's cool, that you can just arrow over to these and see examples. They have examples, from, their print issues. So if we go over here, and let's scroll down real quick. So you can see they have recent issues here, and you can go to more issues. Everything's really organized and laid out, right? So if we go to read in current issue, right? You can see here, right, they have, it says number 44, winter 2025. So the ones that are blacked out here, blacked out text and italics here, are not published online. These aren't. There are samples though from the issue. The ones that are hyper. Have that like a hyperlinked blue. I think it's like blue or purple text, right, and clickable, right. So, for example, this one, right, was featured on the homepage. And yeah, so I think that's great that they have examples, from the issues that are public and available and online, not just print. So they don't, show every single poem from the print issue, but there are, ones that you can certainly read that were, published in the issues, right, as well. So I think that's really nice, yeah. So yeah, there are again, recent issues below. So I like the navigation, right? You can always go back and see past issues easily. And yeah, so we go here to read and choose back issues. Look at this, guys. I really like this, when lit mags or journals have, the issues laid out like this. And yeah, I think this is a good layout, absolutely. So we scroll all the way to the bottom here. You can see the evolution of 32 poems. So I know they said they were founded in 2002, so I don't know if the site and everything didn't come to fruition until 2003. But yeah, in any case, look at this. I really love that cover. That one looks cool, guys. The I think that's a butterfly, right? That one looks cool. So look at this, guys. If you scroll all the way up, you can really see how the covers have evolved at 32 poems. I think that's really cool, and that's again, look at that, all those years and all these issues. That's really, really hard to do, absolutely. I would say again, in terms of selecting 32 poems, that is, just 32 poems an issue, that's tough. It is absolutely tough to do that. Same thing, with running Dippy Lit Mag, for example, right? Selecting poems, right, for contest, or let's say we have, we can only choose less than 20 poems, just an example, right? It's really tough for places to do that, myself included. It's always really hard, because there's a lot of great work and you really have to, narrow that down. And, at times, there were cases where we had, back when we started in the early days, right, had published pieces that we really loved online, because we thought they were really beautiful as well. But, for print selection and stuff, it's really tough. Absolutely. It's not easy when you're, dealing with a set number of poems, right? 32, right? That's yeah, it's not easy. So yeah, I really love these covers. Yeah, the older covers look really cool too. I really like that, these especially. So I always love seeing the cover art of different lit mags and journals, and these lily pads. Really love that as well. So yeah, and this reminds me, the 32 here on the faces, by the way, guys. Just a note from me, like an additional memory. I mentioned on this podcast I was a fan of Bruce Blitz, and he had this like cool style, like in one of his um, somewhere where he would like have numbers, turn into faces like this, and it was really cool. Like I think there was one with like Uncle Sam or something, and my dad and I used to try that, putting the numbers on the face, and like it was something we saw, Bruce Blitz do, and something my dad had purchased some Bruce Blitz mini books and stuff, and he had tried to do some of the drawings himself. And I was always someone who, if I see an image or something or cartoon or illustration I can replicate it, from just looking at it. But oftentimes I would just like, sometimes people watch, or I would just like draw things from my imagination and things like that too. But yeah, I was again a huge fan of Bruce Blitz and Gary Harbo and several other cartoonists in existence. But yeah, so I really love seeing the cover art and artwork always. I think it's very unique. And yeah, so where else should we go, guys? So we went to back issues, we went to the current issue, and yeah, let's go to. So I read the history for you guys, and they have the masthead here. So I think this is great. And yeah, so you can see everyone is clearly listed out. And if you click in their names, right, it takes you out to a picture and a little bit about, everyone on the masthead. And that's really great. It's very visible, who the founders are, the board of directors, the associate editors, the managing editor, and the editor in chief and executive director. And yeah, George David Clark, and yeah, and the managing editor, Elizabeth Clark. So, yeah, if we go over, let's check out Submit. Let's go over here actually. So their poetry guidelines, let's just cover it. I don't go over every single guideline or call, that places have, but they're not open right now. But it says here again, 32 poems welcome submissions from February 1st to April 30th, and from August 1st to September 30th, it looks like. It says they respond quickly, often within a few weeks, and poets who have not received response within 90 days are encouraged to query regarding their manuscript status. It says, as a rule, we publish shorter poems that fit on a single page, but we regularly make exceptions to accommodate remarkable work that runs a little longer. It says, please send no more than 5 poems in a single document and have no more than 1 active submission at a time. They do not accept translations or work that has been previously published in print or online. And again, contributors receive $25 per poem and 2 copies of the issue in which their writing appears. So yeah, again, they charge a $3 processing fee, but the fee is waived for current subscribers, and they accept submissions through both submittable and duosoma. It looks like, yeah. So not just submittable, as stated on Chilsub, it looks like also duosuma, which is part of Duotrope, as I mentioned on this podcast. So yeah, it says from August 1st to September 30th, but it says closed here. So it is early August. So I wonder if they are open. Let's check it out, guys. Do they have any open calls right now? Let's see. Yeah, so they actually are open right now, guys. So they aren't closed. Yeah. Just keep that in mind. Again, just because it says closed on Chill Subs doesn't necessarily mean it is. So, just, and I think they're on Duotrope as well. So I'm not sure what Duotrope has, but we can, check it out too. Yeah, so it looks like they're open here, on Duosuma. So I assuming on Duotrope it also will have that they are open. We can actually go out here and chat. 32 poems. I pulled it up for you guys. Let's see. So yeah, it is open, yeah. So that's why again I always recommend, checking, perhaps check Duotrope, and Chill Subs at the same time. Duotrope is a place I like to refer to as well, just to cross reference, Chill Subs and Duotrope. I know a lot of poets, check Chill Subs, but it's not always updated by editors either. It's hard to do that. So Duotrope is pretty accurate. I would say. The team at Duotrope, they do and tied to Duosoma as well. They do a great job of helping maintain these listings and ensure they're accurate. And it takes a lot of work to do that. So yeah. So I recommend you check out Duotrope, and you can see everything here again, the guidelines again, and the calls and the fees. So yeah, let's go back to their website. So yeah, I think that's nice that they, waive the fee for current subscribers, but again, I'd wish it'd be completely free. I know it's tough for places to do that though, but yeah. Anyways, $3 I would say that's not too bad. It's on the lower end, yeah. So they have news here too, a news section. I think that's nice. You can see some events, right? Best New Poets, pushcart nominations, and yeah, I won't go through all of them or anything like that. But yeah, so I think the site design is really nice, and again, you can check out, they have pros, right? They separate, right? You can look at the interviews that they do. Yeah. So just something about the prose guidelines. So it says here, I won't read through all of it. 32 poems seeks reviews of recent poetry collections for the online prose features. So it says in their reviews, they aim to explore the breadth of English language poetry as well to offer a space for important discussions and about craft. It says most importantly, they believe that reviews shouldn't merely be about good writing; they should be good writing. So it says they prefer longer reviews of 1,000, words plus, and yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, again, they have reviews. They do interviews, I believe, as well. And yeah, so if we go back to the homepage here, so they have you can see the featured prose here again, tying back to what I just mentioned, and it says here an interview. See, so yeah, it looks like they also do interviews, as I just said, and yeah, they have their subscribe options here. So $16, it looks like, in back issues that can be ordered, and they accept donations, and yeah. So all in all, their site is very clean and easy to navigate. I like they can just click into past issues. I think it'd be beneficial maybe to have some kind of search box or something, maybe. But this layout is really nice, I'd say, for sure. You can easily click into each issue. I think if it ever, grows to, let's say issue 100 or something, probably it'd be nice to maybe have a search or something, because that'd be a little bit of scrolling through. But yeah, these older issues are really cool to see. I think that is, you can see how lit magazine journals have grown or changed over the years. I think that's neat. But they've stayed consistent, to their format. I think that's really important, with Dipty, I mentioned we're doing a relaunch and stuff because I think it's important to have that consistency in the, amount of poems, capped in each issue, like 32 poems does, 14 poems. A lot of places, again, do that. They don't, again, necessarily have that in the name itself, as I mentioned. But yeah. So if you're going to run a lit mag or journal, just keep that in mind. It's a good idea to set a certain amount of poems you want to have in each issue. And yeah, they have their ISSN here and 32 classrooms. Let's click on that and see what that's about. So it says in 32 classrooms initiative, they 32 poems partners with high school and undergraduate instructors in an effort to help introduce young writers to contemporary poetry and to the practice of literary editing. Students in participating classes read their current issues and have the opportunity to interact with the magazine in a variety of ways, including writing an individual poem that responds to or imitates work they admire. At the end of each semester, we encourage students to submit these pieces to be considered for publication on our website. Oh, so that's really awesome. Yeah. I think that's cool, that they do that. Like after poems and getting inspiration from issues. So that's a really nice initiative that they're doing. Yeah. I love seeing lit magazine journals that try to introduce poetry into the classroom spaces or, for students, of, wherever they may be, at any grade level. I didn't see a specific grade level mentioned. So I think that's nice, introducing poetry in classrooms. Yeah, I know came into contact myself with poetry because of, a project assignment, that I had in sixth grade. And again, I mentioned my grandpa would send me poetry books too. But I think, having poetry exercises in the classroom or partnerships with, teachers and classrooms and schools, right? I think that's important. Again, CLMP has, a Lit Mag adoption program too, which is really cool. And you can read more about that. But yeah, that's where like teachers can pick lit magazine journals for their, part of the CLMP membership to um, sort of learn more about, the behind what goes behind it and the publication and everything. I think that's cool. So yeah, I think it just auto advanced too. So that's nice on the homepage of poems and stuff. So yeah, 32 poems is very cool. They've published a lot of great issues for sure. And yeah, so check it out, guys. And yeah, I think the cover art's so fun again. So look at that cat, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say they have great site design. I would just say my only comment would be maybe a search box down the road sometime or something like that. but everything's very easy to navigate. I like how they have their homepage set up, rotating out sample poems and featuring those and offering, they have several examples online, so that's great. Not everything's paywalled or anything like that. So yeah, again, on this podcast, I don't just cover fee-free magazines or ones that only pay, right? I do a different mix of all kinds. So yeah, maybe we'll even cover some other ones that have some alarming fees or something, or some question marks and red flags, right? Too. But I think 32 Poems absolutely is another, um, it's another literary magazine out there that has done a consistently good job, and it's just a really tough, right? They have like it's showing a 0.66 acceptance rate. So it's when you're just I don't know how many submissions they have every year or in those windows, but yeah, it looks like they're open right now again. So they're doing review call up to September 30th, and subscriber poetry submission, right? And then they have regular submissions for non-subscribers, so up till September 30th. So again, always check Duotrope too, and not just chill subs. There are other directories too, but of course you can always go directly to the site, right? If you're interested in Lit Mag Journal, and places typically are pretty good at updating submittable or their website or putting the call windows there that they have each year. And yeah, so I think that's great. And they have some tips here, for, just what they're looking for in the guidelines, right? And shorter poems that fit on page, just reminders. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's 32 poems, guys. I just wanted to cover it real quick for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's 32 poems. I just want to cover it. I just wanted to cover it real quick for you guys. And yeah. So we did 14 poems. We did 32 poems. Next up, we have to do what did I say? No, I can't think of any other lit mag or journal that has a certain number in the title. I could be wrong. I'll let you know if I think of any others. But yeah, I just wanted to cover, in the last episode, 14 poems and now 32 poems because they were always, their names memorable, right? Because of the number of poems they select in each issue, right? So I just wanted to cover them both real quick. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So check them out, yeah. Chill subs, right? 32 poems. So um I think it says yeah, they don't have any specific eligibility requirements again. And yeah, so just always refer, I would say not everything's always listed out, on chill subs again, but editors do their best to update those fields when possible. So yeah, so they are open right now. So that's cool, yeah, up till September 30th, looks like. And then again, for poetry, right? Every year, February 1st to April 30th, and then August 1st to September 30th. So that's great that they have, two dedicated call windows. I think it's nice when places can do that. And some places stray from their call windows, like we have, right, at Dippity, just because like things come up from time to time and sometimes you have to readjust your windows, right, to complete issues. It happens. But I think it's nice to have, set dates, each year that your calls are open so others can always say, oh, I know this place is going to be open, these months. So I'm going to get my submissions ready and we're going to go. But some places have theme calls, some places have, right, certain focuses for issues. So you can't always, prep in advance for that. But sometimes they let you know what the theme or call is way in advance, right? So yeah. Anyways, that's 32 poems, yeah. So take care, guys, and totally pick up some 30 issues of 32 poems. Read more of the examples that they have. And I was not able to reach 32 minutes. I was trying to make this podcast episode 32 minutes long, guys, but I was just a bit short. So, talking about 32 poems in 32 minutes, doesn't that have a nice ring to it? Well, I did it within, let's say I did it within that time span, right? It didn't go over 32 minutes or anything like that. It went under that. Anyways, yeah, some cool issues again. And yeah, so definitely check it out, You can read quite a bit of the poems from past issues for free too. And like totally, pick up issues and support 32 poems, right? Some of their back issues, yeah, they have oh, I have to read that one, Your Bollywood Obsession, guys. I just came across that. That's like I'm gonna have to read that. I grew up watching a lot of, Bollywood movies. I mentioned this maybe on the podcast or elsewhere, but a lot of the early ones, like from 2007 and before that, a little bit after as well. But I really, had some faves over time. I think and I'm trying to get to 32 minutes while talking about this. We'll see. But yeah, I think Hum Tum was my favorite, and then Salam Namaste was my favorite, and Ahsoka, and several others. Wake Up Sid. Now, Wake Up Sid was, I think, one of the movies I watched in that, the Bollywood world that sort of actually was tied to, running a magazine a little bit. The end of that movie, spoiler, sorry. So in Wake Up Sid, um, he has like his work in the magazine, and yeah, and the woman he falls in love with also works at the publication and stuff. So that was always one that I remembered. And yeah, there were several other Bollywood movies. I have like a list of faves. But anyways, your Bollywood obsession that stood out to me. So, check that out. So anyways, you can see 32 new sports, diversions, and hobbies. So that looks like a fun issue. So yeah, I think that's really cool. Back from 2008. Yeah, that one. So yeah, anyways, and that looks like a frog skeleton. So yeah. So pretty interesting cover art again overall, and yeah, I like the vibe that 32 Poems has for sure. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Did I make it to 32 minutes? We'll see. Maybe I went a little bit over. So bye, guys. Yeah, take care. Yeah.